Welcome to Reaching Abundance. I'm Virginia Elder, your host. This is the podcast where you get weekly cliff notes on developing mental fortitude and podcast marketing strategies from top business owners. Ready to level up your show? Start by booking a call with me using the link in the episode description. Let's get into the episode. This week, I have the pleasure of introducing you to one of my parallel service providers in the online business space. She's very matter of fact and down to earth, and if it's not fun, she's not doing it. Often as business owners, we find ourselves getting asked the same questions over and over again. Or we know there's an underlying educational piece to what we do that every one of our clients and potential clients needs. Perhaps some complementary knowledge that would help them be even more successful with the services we provide. But finding the time, energy, or mental space to create that educational component feels like a dream or a far off goal. Well, Katy with the Miller Social is your answer. Katy, I'm so glad you're here with me today.
I am excited to be here.
Absolutely. So of course, we're going to jump right in. I want to hear your unique personal definition of abundance.
Of course. I love that. So I feel like abundance is so unique to everybody because it's really, for me, it's really just having all the things that you want and need in your world. So the things that make you happy, the things that bring you joy, the things that you're working towards, the goals that you have, that sort of thing. So I don't think that there's really like one magical thing that is abundance for me. I don't think it's money necessarily. I think that's nice to have. But I think for abundance for me is just being able to do the things that I love to do and the things that bring me joy.
Okay, so tell me, what are those things that bring you joy? Let's dig a little deeper here. Tell me what that is.
Yeah, of course. So my favorite things are I love to hang out with my kids. So that's one thing. And I have worked really hard to structure my business to be able to do that. That was a big learning curve for me at the beginning, was setting really strong boundaries around that. And we can dive into that for sure. But setting strong boundaries in my business to stop when it was the time that school was getting out. So when my kids are home, I don't work. When it is summer, I don't work. I take a break fully and completely during the summer. I don't want to work when they're home, because I'm like, hey, I want a break too. So I slow down a lot during the summer. There might be things that I do here and there. It's changed a little bit since I got divorced last year, since I don't have them all the time. But the days that they are with me, I stop at 3:00. I'm done. I'm not talking to clients anymore. So the days that they are not with me and they're at their dad's house, I'm going to work a little bit longer, and I know that. But it's really focusing on those. What are the times that I actually want to work? What are the days that I can take calls? What is the capacity that I have? And what are the things that I actually want to do in my business? And outsourcing the ones that I don't want to do. And that was something that I think we as business owners tend to hold on to everything. We're like, no, I can't do it. I have to make all the money. I'm going to hold on to all the things. I'm not going to outsource it because I want to make all the money, and I don't want to give anybody else my money. And so if I spend it and I let other people do it and I outsource something, that means I'm not making all the money, and that's a bad thing. And that's something that we all have to work through. So for me, it was really well, I hate doing this one thing, or for me, it was podcast editing, honestly. So for me, once I outsourced that, which we've discussed before, once I outsourced that was a big thing for me. My podcast became a lot more fun. It wasn't something that I dreaded. Oh no, I've got to put this thing out again. It was more fun. So it's things like that bring more abundance for me, where I'm like, oh, I like doing this again. But if there's something in my business that I don't enjoy doing, then it becomes a problem. So the abundance for me is I need to focus on the things that I enjoy doing. And if there's something that I don't want to do or I don't enjoy doing, I need to look at why I don't want to do it. Because I've said from the beginning of my business, none of us started a business to be miserable. That was not the point of it. If you think about it, you did not start this whole thing, which is really challenging to do anyway, to be miserable. So why are you doing it if you're miserable?
Good point.
I don't like doing that one thing. I mean, I've struggled with burnout. I've done that multiple times. I kind of had to take a hard look of what got me to this point. I thought this one thing, and we've talked a little bit before about pivoting in business. My business does not look the way that I ever thought it would when I started 5 years ago. And I think that that is really hard as an entrepreneur because we tend to go into our businesses having this grand idea of what it's going to look like. And we're like, I'm going to do this thing and I'm so excited about it. And look at this like skill that I have and I'm going to build my business around it. And how great is this? And then you're like, I hate it. Like you do it for a while and then you struggle with that. And you're like, I started a business and this is the thing that I loved. And now I don't like doing it. And I've discovered that I don't like doing it. What do I do now? And that can be really hard to kind of go through that process. And I think the entrepreneurial journey is a huge professional development and personal development thing that you're not prepared for. Nobody is prepared for when we start.
Yeah. So we're the same. Like we both started our business about 5 years ago. So that's awesome. But it for sure was something that I thought, oh, I'll have the ability to structure my schedule and I'll have the ability to control my income. And there's different things that I was seeing as a positive as a business owner, but I did not anticipate the personal development that's required, the professional development that's required, and or the moments where you feel like the business is running you instead of the other way around. So, okay, with all that being said, give us a little overview of what you started doing as your business and then these couple of pivots that you've mentioned that are along the way and bring us to what you do now.
So I started as a social media manager. And when I started my business, I was convinced that I was going to be a social media manager forever. And I started really slow. I even did a trial run with a client I think we did a trade or I did it super cheap, ridiculously cheap for her because I was like, I'm going to like test the waters because I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. And this is my thing. So I really was like, I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to make sure that this is it before I really dive into it. And I did that for a while. And then I was like, this is it. I know this is my thing. I'm going to be a social media manager. So that's what I did at the beginning. And then I had, as we all do, I had some challenging clients that were not aligned with what I was doing and how I wanted to operate my business. And I just felt like I was spending so much time on social media and it turned into this thing. I still love social media, but it turned into this thing that I didn't love anymore. And I hated being on social media. And I was like, this is a nightmare. And I don't like working for other people. And I don't like other people telling me what to do or that my skills are wrong. And I learned that about myself. And I was like, this is not great. I don't like doing this. I don't like other people telling me that these skills and knowledge that I have are wrong and that I'm not doing it right because they weren't trusting me. And it was something that I struggled with a lot because I was like, well, no, but I have the skills. I've been doing social media for a while in network marketing, which is how I started my business. I'd been doing a lot of training in my network marketing business, so for the company. And so I was, well, I can do this for other people. Like I'm training other people so I can help other people do this. I had built my brand for a long time. So I was like, I can teach other people how to do this. I can be a social media manager. And I burned out and I was like, nope, social media management, not it for me. But I really like strategy. So let me move into that. So I did social media strategy and still kind of plays into what I do now. I did social media strategy for a while. I'm like, I'll do consulting type of stuff, but less management. Let's not do the management situation anymore because the engagement piece was never my favorite, still not my favorite. I don't even do it for my own account anymore. I outsource that for my own account because I was like, I don't even like to do it for my own stuff. So nope, not doing it. It was my least favorite part of all of it from the beginning. And it was just one of those things. So I'm consulting for a while. The strategy behind social media is something that has always been fascinating for me and will continue to be fascinating for me. I think, for the long run, which is why I still do it now for my course clients. So after that, I kind of was like, social media is still draining. I think I got sick of the gurus and experts and all the people that were saying, hey, you know what? Social media is so easy. Like, all you have to do is post. I was like, this is so frustrating that people are just thinking that this is like such an easy thing. And social media is still a relatively new industry. A lot of people don't understand the strategy that goes into it still. And so that was really frustrating for me, trying to get my name out there and help them understand, there's a lot that goes into it. And there are people that, like me, who have a deep skill behind it. But there are still all these people out there this was like the height of a lot of the gurus and experts that were telling you to post every day, all the trends, reels were coming out. I was blowing up on reels. That's how I gained a lot of my followers. I had reels going viral at the time. I was like, this is weird. I don't like this. Like, this is awesome, uncomfortable and weird. And like, this is, it was very uncomfortable. So around that time, I was like, okay, let's reevaluate again. This is getting uncomfortable, and I am getting tired of making videos. And I was also getting criticism from various sources. And so I was like, okay, let's think about this. I don't want to make videos, and I don't want to feel the pressure of having to make reels all the time anymore. It was starting to become one of those things it became a task rather than something I enjoyed. So I had another evaluation of my business, of what do I enjoy doing. And I remembered that I had a master's degree. I had kind of forgotten for a minute.
Tidbit fact there.
Yeah, just had forgotten for a minute. I had kind of like put it back in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, wait. So I have that master's degree. I have this experience in education. So I'd been a teacher. And how can I combine all these things? It had kind of gotten to the point of like, oh, right. Like, wait, I can put all these things together and this finally makes sense. And that's how I kind of realized that I could put all these things together and use my instructional design degree and help people build courses. But I don't like to do things the normal, traditional way. So I had to put my own spin on it. And it's really not building courses in a traditional, like, oh, this is modules, lessons. I like to approach it as like, let's figure out how you can take your expertise and turn it into a learning experience. So it doesn't have to be a traditional course. We all have something to offer. We all have a billion things that we've created. How can you take that and turn it into something that'll benefit your clients, but not spend 1 million hours creating something brand new? I mean, you can if you want to. I can help you do that too, but it's either way. But it's also take that, and then how do we market it on social media? So that's where the social media piece still comes in. So it was like really taking all the things that I enjoy doing and turning it into like, okay, we're going to really pare down business and pare down offers into the things that I actually love doing and take out all the extra stuff. So I took out a lot of offers, a lot of the extras, a lot of the things that I don't like doing, and limited what I offer.
So talk to me a little bit about who your typical or favorite type of client is. If business owners are listening, they're like, holy crap, I've been wanting to make a course. Don't have time to make a course. Here's this woman. Like, she's been magically presented right here. Talk to us about who you help, how you help them, and kind of your process so that they can hear like, yes, this is perfect for me.
So it's a lot of small business owners who have had that course idea sitting in their brain forever. I was just talking about this recently with someone. It typically is, there's 2 different types of people that come to me. There are the people that have had a course idea that they've thought about forever or have been sitting in their Google Docs for years, and they've just not had the time. I've wanted to do this thing. I can't do it. I've been so busy with my one-on-one clients or so busy with my clients that I just can't, I don't have the time to execute it. I need someone to do it for me. I have those people. And then I have the people who have started a course, but they get to a certain point and they never go beyond that, because usually they realize how involved creating a course is, because it is a lot of work. And then there are the people, so I guess there's a third one. The third one are the people that have created one course and they did it themselves, and they will never create another course. ever again because they did it on their own the first time. So it's usually small business owners, a lot of coaches who want to turn their expertise into a course. They've been working one-on-one forever. They have limited amount of time and they are not sure how to turn one-on-ones. They're like, okay, well, I kind of maxed out my one-on-one time. I can't do any more one-on-ones because I only have so many hours in the day. So I'm not sure what else to do or how to reach more people. And it's hard to figure out how to structure a group program or a mastermind or whatever. So they kind of just are like, oh, it's not really my thing. I don't want to do that. And they're like, I'll just keep doing one-on-ones. So it's a lot of coaches, a lot of small business owners who are maybe do coaching and have some clients on the side. So it's usually service-based business owners.
Yeah, there you go. So share with me a little bit, because you kind of almost touched on it there. These coaches or small business owners will often go, oh, like I don't have time to build a course. I guess I'll just keep doing one-on-one coaching, or I'll convert into group coaching, or I'll design my program differently, or I'll do this, or I'll do that, or I'll do that. All I'm hearing is like, I'm just going to work myself into burnout because I can't find a better way or smarter way to serve people. You have experienced burnout a couple of times. So talk to us about that. Maybe just pick an example or two, kind of how you got there and what led you to that burnout. And then I know you've said you've looked at your business and pivoted, and maybe some of that was the solution to some of your burnout. But is there anything else that you can help with there, like a tip or a process that really helped you overcome the burn? Because I think this is just a super common experience for all business owners. We tend to overwork ourselves before we figure out, like, yeah, there has to be a better way.
Yes. So I think when I experienced burnout, it was both times were right before my kids got out for summer break, oddly enough. And I think what was happening for me is I was trying to wrap things up. First of all, it was May. And we all know if you're a parent, May is the worst. It's worse than December. So I think that was part of it, is that I was trying to wrap so much stuff up so that I could go on vacation. Typically, it was June that we were going on a trip. So I was trying to get so much stuff done. And I was just tired in business in general. I was tired. And honestly, that was probably close to when my marriage was also falling apart. So it was like there was a lot happening. But I was so tired in my business and just bored of my business, overwhelmed in my business. Like I didn't like what was happening in my business. And I think what I've done now is since I've put in such strong boundaries, that has helped significantly. And that I don't let things creep in or in like outside of business hours. And that's made a big difference. And that was one thing that I think I've noticed in the last year, especially, that has helped, is that I don't work outside of those hours and I don't take calls randomly. I am very specific on the days that I take calls, and I am very specific on the number of clients that I take. I'm not going to go over that number unless I feel like I can. And I think being really in touch with your mental health in business is huge. And that's something that I think we're so quick to just like keep working for the money part of it. Because as an entrepreneur, you're like, yes, I'll take on another client because that's an extra $400,000, whatever. Because you want, obviously, like we're like, we'll go for it because that's more money for this month, or I'm trying to make a goal for or whatever. And I think we're really quick to do that as entrepreneurs because we want to hit whatever goal we have. And I think you have to be really aware of your own personal health because we're really quick to just go for the end money goal versus our actual health, which is the problem. It's okay to say no. Again, we're not doing it to be miserable.
So I'm hearing really strict boundaries around your call times, your calendar, the number of clients you're taking on, probably the work itself that those clients are asking you to do. And then talk to me a little bit about how there really is an education component in every business. Even if you haven't recognized it yet, it does exist. And I think that's really where you come in, and you can really help someone avoid burnout in the long run because we've created this repeatable purchase and take the course on your own time, and it doesn't require my time as like a one-on-one client. So it's actually saving me that energy in the long run and allowing me to earn more, grow my presence, do all these amazing things because I created a course, because I was proactive, and I did that ahead of hitting burnout. Talk to me about that.
I think that's where, in general, where creating good content comes into play. If you can create a good course the first time, and you're creating something that can have a lasting impact, that's going to be huge for both sides. It's going to be positive for you as the person who created the course, created something that is going to have an impact. And it is going to be great for the person who takes it. And it's the same on social media. You have to be careful about who you're listening to. I think it's the same for burnout. You have to be careful of the voices that are coming in your head when you're running a business in general and who you're listening to, because you're going to have people who are going to tell you to just keep going and keep hustling, which is a word I can't stand a lot of the times in business, because they're going to tell you, like, just keep going. You got to hustle. You got to hustle for the goal. And like, but I want to sit on the couch tonight. So that's what I'm going to do. You know, like that's, yes. And I don't want to hustle because that sounds exhausting and I'm tired. I think when you can, it's really that like focusing on that good quality content, because if I'm going to purchase a course and it's terrible, that's not going to be good either. That also leads to frustration all around, because if I purchase something and it's a terrible product, I'm frustrated because I just wasted money, right? And so then I'm like, ugh, now I'm more frustrated as someone who's trying to grow my business. And that's not good for any of us either. And like we've all done that too. We've all had bad purchases or bad coaches, which is part of this whole process. So that can be something too that leads to burnout for us when we're trying to grow our business and we're trying to like move forward, and you get bad advice or you have a bad coach or you have bad experience, and it just leads to this like, ugh, what's wrong with me? I was part of this group program and look at all these other people that are doing really great, and I did everything that they told me and I didn't have the same results. And that's all part of this mental game that is really hard. So I think it can go both ways when you have a course or when you take a course or create a course. But it all comes down to the quality of the content and the quality of your product that you're putting out there.
And that's where I don't think I know anyone else that has the degree that you have, this instructional design degree. Like that sounds so different from like your typical teaching degree. So I think that's kind of the magic of where you come in. You touched a little bit about recognizing that some clients weren't aligned, or maybe that what they were asking you to do wasn't aligned with you and your values. So how can someone recognize that faster? Like, how have you improved that skill specifically of seeing someone, talking to them? Maybe you do an intro call or whatever it is, and very quickly being able to discern, this is my person, this is not. And how have you navigated that? Because I think that's like a muscle that grows, that needs to be exercised. And we get better at it, but in those early years of business, we are not good at that discernment.
No. And we are not good at it at all. And I think part of that is because we're like, we want clients and we want to make money. And I still think that there is that as we're more mature business owners, we're not baby business owners. But I do think that it can get really dangerous when we're more mature business owners and we still need to reach a goal, or we like need to pay our bills and we're trying to just grab clients. Then you're stuck in this loop of just trying to get clients. But I feel like I'm pretty decent at reading people. But what caught me early on was that I wanted to grow my business. I wanted to grow my business. I wanted to make money. I wanted to prove myself. So I was like, I want clients. I want to prove myself. So I got stuck in that and just sort of ignored the things that felt a little weird at the beginning. When we had the discovery call, I was like, well, this seems off. And now I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We are not. If someone asks me a million questions about something, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. my entire brand is like no BS brand. So at this point, I'm totally fine with it. At the beginning of my business, I was a little less, I was like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Now I don't care. So I like, listen, this is it. It either is going to work for you or it's not. And I'm okay with that. I think I was less okay with that 5 years ago because I was still trying to make my name. And now I'm more comfortable like, hey, you're going to either vibe with it or you're not at this point. It is what it is at this point. So I think it's really asking questions and having a call before you sign a contract. And I think you can tell a lot from a conversation and you can tell a lot from just basic questions. For me, I have a pre-question before we get on a discovery call. Sometimes it doesn't even take a discovery call, but I do screen people out before we get on a discovery call. It comes down to whether people are willing to pay your prices. Honestly, that's a really big one. If your prices start at $500, $1,000, $2,000 and someone's like, I want to pay $100. I mean, they're probably not your client, like
just no.
They're out, right? Like if they're like, I'm looking for someone who is affordable and no, they're probably out, Like when I was a social media manager and my prices, I think at the time they started, like my lowest package maybe was $750 at the time, let's say, back in the day. And someone was like, oh, I'm looking for someone affordable for like $400 a month. I was like, well, that's not me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you're looking for, but that's not someone who can actually do a good job. So it's not me. So you could weed people out very easily based on that. And then you can tell based on certain questions what their goals are in business and whether they align with you. Like you can do a quick search of their social media profile. That was easy for me to say, this is not it. We're not going to vibe. You seem a little too serious for me. If I make a joke, you're not going to laugh. And that's going to hurt my feelings. And so like if we get on a call, you're going to be like, this lady's crazy. So that would be like, we don't even get on a discovery call. But I will say what I would do is direct them to other resources. And I think that's huge. You can still be helpful to people. And that's a big part of it. So I think asking pre-screening questions before you even get on a discovery call. And then if you get to the discovery call, if you think, okay, maybe you get on a discovery call and you can tell pretty quickly based on a conversation whether it's someone who's going to work with you or not. Do they want what you're offering? Do they understand what you're offering? Because you can tell, like, how can I help you? Just ask, how can I help you? And if they tell you, here's what I need, and you're like, no, that's not what I do. I've had that too. I had that happen recently even where I got on a call with someone and I thought it was a great fit. We got on a call and she explained more of what she wanted and it wasn't the right fit. She's like, I don't think this is the right fit. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad we could figure that out now before we, it's better to figure it out before you sign a contract and you start working together because you don't want it to be like you've invested and then you are on two totally different pages.
Yeah, absolutely. So, because I know business owners have a fear around saying no, around changing your offers, around narrowing your offers, around removing offers from your website. So how have you navigated some of that?
Yeah, that one's tricky for a lot of people. I have less of a problem with it, but I think that it's hard for a lot of people because we want to help people. At the end of the day, we want to really help people. So you create offers to appeal to the masses. But I think you have to remember what you want to do and what you enjoy doing. So for me, I look at my offers as like, do I actually like that one? Do I enjoy doing it? If someone were to say, hey, I'm doing this offer or I want this one, am I excited when they sign up for it? Or am I like, oh no, somebody signed up for that offer. Now I have to do that one.
Yeah.
I think of it as, what am I really excited about? And I will say recently, even in the last few months, I narrowed my offers down even more. And I only really have 3 or 4 that I focus on. And it used to be a lot more.
And that's all course creation at this point, right?
And there are secret ones, like I have secret menu things that aren't on my website. It's not the ones that out there. It might be like things that I partner with other people to do. It's not the ones that I'm advertising that I do. There's still some social media stuff that I partner with other people to do. It's not my main things that I'm always talking about.
And I'm sure those partnerships that you're saying are like secret menu offers, like those are very selective, strategic partnerships that you genuinely enjoy that partner. And so that's why you're still willing to offer those things. So to someone that I don't think any social media managers listen, but if they do and they're thinking, okay, well, yeah, I would like to get out of social media engagement. Like I don't want to DM people. I don't want to, whatever the thing is. Or if someone else is listening, let's say they're in the financial space and there's a piece of their business they don't want to do, maybe they're able to see a parallel between, for select people and partnerships and select clients, I can still do that, but it doesn't need to be on my website. And that's okay to make that shift.
So it's really like focusing on the ones that you love to do. That's what I keep out there. And then you raise the prices of those ones. That's another tricky topic is pricing. Like that's a whole other situation.
Yeah. Do you want to share a little bit about how you've navigated when you've raised prices, how you've come up with that? Coaches in the industry are like, double your prices. And then some of us are like, I don't think that's the right call for me. It just depends, right?
I agree. I think it really depends. And I think it's such a personal thing because that's what I think is so hard in online business is that we get so many messages, right? We get so many like double your prices, triple your prices, quadruple your prices tomorrow. You need to have $40,000 months. And you're like, but what if that's not my goal? Or what if those are not my clients? It's kind of how we started. Abundance means a different thing for everybody. Success means a different thing for everybody. So my version of success, what a successful month is different. It does not mean it's a 10K month or a $40,000 month. That's not success for me. So I think that pricing is such a personal thing, and it really just depends on who your people are. And while, yes, we all are out here to make money in our businesses, it's really a combination of looking at what your value is and what you bring to the table. And I think when you can look at what your experience is and really take a hard look at what your experience is and what you bring to the table, that's important because I think we undervalue ourselves. I do think that. But I also think that there are people that are very quick to say, quadruple your prices when you don't need to. I think it's doing some market research is a big part of it and not pricing yourself out of your own market and thinking like, oh, well, if you go too high, you need to go high enough so that people think you're an expert, but not too high because then nobody will buy from you. It's really finding where you're comfortable. I think it's a personal thing and not listening to the outside voices.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise out there for sure. So with your podcast, you help call BS on a lot of that noise. So talk with us about the podcast and when did you start it and why? And what has been the parallel of the podcasting journey with the business journey?
The podcast started as kind of a fun project. It was an extra unrelated to the business project. And it started as more of my frustration with the online business space and wanting to be able to talk about that somewhere. I talked about it on my social media, but I wanted to do it in a more formal way. It actually didn't start when it probably could have because I listened to outside noise. And I think I had asked people, should I do a blog? Should I do a podcast? And someone I didn't even know very well. And I had asked her what I should do. And she was like, you're a better writer, so I would do a blog. And I was like, but I can talk a lot though. So I don't know. So I waited to do a podcast forever. And then on a whim, zero plan, zero preparation, no idea how to do a podcast or anything. I started it on a random Friday in April, like a year ago, April. So a year and a half-ish, coming up on 2 years next April. And I just started it because I was like, I want to call out BS on all the things in the online space because there's a lot. So it started mostly on social media stuff because I got really irritated on all the experts and gurus and all the advice. And what is really frustrating to me is when people will talk about things but not give you advice, not give you like practical steps afterwards. So that's really what the structure of it is like, let's call out the BS, but also what am I supposed to do about it? Don't just say this is terrible and then good luck. I'm like, what am I supposed to do about it now? Like, you're going to tell me that this person is saying all these terrible things about social media and don't do this, don't do that. But what am I actually supposed to do? Because I am someone who is, yes, I will call out the BS, but I also need to know what I'm supposed to do now. Like, go tell, I'm going to need some like action items too. And so that's how I approach my business too. But the podcast turned into now there are guests and we explore different industries. So like the recent guests, I think we talked about insurance. We've talked to financial people. This week we had a guest on self-care and preventing burnout, actually. We've talked to various guests and we talk about what to do about these things. So a big part of it is, yes, let's call it out, but please give practical advice on what to do instead.
Yeah.
So it just sort of morphed into like a fun project.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like even as you're talking about it, it sounds like it's still fun to you, which is really refreshing.
Because I have a podcast manager. That's why it's fun.
Yeah. There you go. So at what point did you decide to get help with the show? Early in this episode, you mentioned that it kind of bogged you down at first, and that was frustrating. So rather than drop it, what made you think, no, I'm going to get help with this rather than feel overwhelmed by it?
It was pretty early. I think it was like, I want to say the beginning of the year, the halfway through last season. I feel like is when I got help with it because I was getting to the point where it publishes every week. So it was getting to the point where when it comes out on Monday morning, it would be like Sunday night. And I had episodes recorded, but I didn't edit them. I would be sitting on the couch on Sunday night and be like, oh, I didn't get anything ready for tomorrow and I have to get a whole episode out. And so I'd be rushing and panicked. And I was like, this is not fun. And I don't want that. I had great time recording the episodes. That wasn't a problem. It was the editing part that was the issue. So then that's when I realized I was like, well, to maintain this and to keep it fun, I'm going to need to, again, set those boundaries around it where I'm going to need help with it. And I know I'm going to need to take a break during the summer. So that's what I ended up doing is I said, okay, well, we're going to get through May. And we did that. And then I take a break during the summer and I batch record over the summer. And so I did a lot of my recording August and September. And then I'm set for the whole season. And we'll probably go through, I think this year we're going through like May, early June. And I have all the episodes recorded and ready.
Wow. That is some serious batching right there.
I know. I got a great response in a lot of guest response that were aligned, which was a big part of it too, in a podcast group. So that was a big thing for me not all of them were, but I got a great response. And the guests that were aligned, again, with a form, that was important. Then I just recorded as many as I could while I was not working because I was still on my summer break and I could batch record and get those done. So that was off the plate. And then once my kids started school, that's when I focus on client work again.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit because some people struggle with this batching piece. And sure, maybe they don't take a month or whatever off of work to batch. But even if you're trying to fit batching into like 1 or 2 days a month or maybe a week where you're recording a bunch of episodes back to back and you have multiple months, whatever style you try to do it, I'm hearing that you're part of podcaster Facebook groups or at least a community of some sort where you can reach out and offer, hey, I'm looking for guests. Then it sounds like you have some kind of intake form, which I do too, so I love that. And then I'm sure there's like a scheduling process beyond that. After they fill out their form, you're reviewing it, and then they're scheduling their show. So did I miss any steps in there, or do you want to elaborate on any of that?
That's pretty much what it was. It was really, I put it out in the Facebook group. Then they completed the form. I approved it. So that was really a big part of it was, does it align? Are they into the idea of the show? That was a big part of it, is they have to be willing to call BS on something in their industry. So not everybody is willing to do that. People don't want to call things out in their industry. They're like, we're going to keep things nice and like peaceful. I'm like, no, you have to be willing to call something out. You have to be willing to say, I don't agree with this, and be okay with that. And then talk about why, and then give tips. That's the whole premise of the show. So if people are comfortable with that, then cool, I'll approve it. And if the topic seems aligned or the person seems aligned with the show, then I approved it. I sent them the scheduler. I will say, like, there were days when I recorded 4 episodes, so that was 4 hours of recording.
Wow.
It's a lot. That was a lot. I'm not going to lie. Those were long days. And that was probably my max. I wouldn't do more than that. But the process wasn't too bad for me because all I was doing was recording. It wasn't like I was doing editing or anything like that. It was just recording and dropping it into a folder. So it wasn't too bad. But that's it. And then I organized everything in my Google Drive to get ready for my editor. And so now I would drop the picture, the headshot that my guests would send. So everything was organized. And then once my editor came back on in September, then she started, here it is, it's all organized.
Yeah. Okay, that's perfect. I think a lot of times these processes are actually simple, but we imagine them to be more complicated or bigger than what they really are. And sure, it might take you an hour or two to like figure out where you would put out the message that you are open for guests and build out the forum and kind of build out the steps of how someone's going to flow through the system. But once you do that, it actually really makes your future life so much easier, so much better. So yeah, take it from Katy right there. Okay, so Katy, as we wrap up, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow you. I do want to hear about your podcast, all the places.
For sure. Well, Instagram is where I hang out the most. And you can find me at the Miller Social. So there's the in front of Miller Social. That's where I spend most of my time. And the podcast is Katy Calls BS. And that is Katy. Just make sure you spell the Katy the right way. And that is on Apple and Spotify. And that comes out every week. We have new episodes there. So you can find, that's usually the best places to find me, are the podcast and Instagram.
Yep. And then tell us your website real quick so that if they are interested in coursework or so, just your offers or kind of checking you out, where can they find you?
Sure. It's themillersocial.com. And we have done for you and done with you coursework.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katy. I appreciate your time today and kind of giving us that behind the scenes peek of your business journey. And thank you so much.
Of course. I always love to share it. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'd love to hear which piece of this conversation meant the most to you today. Head to reachingabundance.com/convo. If you're ready to market your business effectively with a podcast, let's talk. Click the book a call link in the description and I'll take it from there. Thanks for listening to Reaching Abundance. I'm Virginia Elder, and I'll be back next week with another insightful episode for you. Follow me on Instagram at Podcast Abundance to stay connected in the meantime.